Hi there, back again. And today, first of all, I'm in the VW showroom. A lot of the things behind me are things that just came in from Indonesia. But I wanted to talk to you about mirrors. And I've been using mirrors for a long time. I usually don't use them as a freestanding on a wall. I like them sitting on the floor, which the first time I did was in the late 70s for a designer called Willie Smith in his apartment. But when people ask me what sizes do I work in or what sizes do I like, when I do single standing ones, I like a rectangle, 4x8 or 3x6. So I like those proportions. And they're all different types of glass that I use. I mean, here are some. Clear glass, which is always great. Antique mirror, which I think works great in bedrooms, dressing rooms, because I think it gives you a great reflection. There's a softness to it, and to me, a slight feminine quality to the space. And then there's like bronze mirror, which I think works great in bars, or if you're doing a dark room, so the reflection is not a bright one, but a softer one. And the other one is bronze mirror, which I think, again, has a very soft quality to it. I like to do custom mirrors. And I think that they are great because I start to incorporate elements that are happening in the room. For instance, this one here, which you see it in profile, I work different finishes. I do all silver, and then I do shiny silver here so it reflects the light, and it has a much more architectural quality to it. Or then more traditional ones like this one, which is like a collection molding, and here we did a sample that we were working on, so we were going to do a border of antique mirror around the outside and then clear mirror on the inside. But I like the soft shape, which brings it a slightly more traditional. When I do large mirrors, a slab of mirror is 4x8. And if you pass a certain height, you can't get them into the space. So what I do is I work out the 4x8, which is the size that usually can get in. The mirrors get put together on the site, and then I do a border around it to bring it up to the size that I am looking for. If it's more than 4 feet, let's say you're doing a mirror 8 feet wide, then I break it into squares, 4 squares. So like this, you don't have a seam. I don't like a seam in the middle. I like it always on the left and right. So when you're looking at the mirror, it's not what you're seeing. And then I create a border around it to keep making up to the size that we want. So sometimes my border is 18 inches with square corners of mirror. So you do 18-inch square on the corners. So like this, you start to create a composition. But I think the reason I've always done mirrors sitting on the floor, leaning mirrors, is because I like it to be almost a doorway out of that room. I don't want to cut your reflection. I want it to seem like there's something beyond that wall. And people say, oh my God, but I have children, what do? I don't want the mirror falling on the kids. So we hook them to the wall on the top so you really cannot lift them off the wall. So try to look at frames, try to design the frame. Your cabinet maker can make it, and then your glass people can fit them in. Remember, if the frame is too big, it needs to be done in parts, and again, assemble on the site. So I wonder if any of you have any questions on mirrors, and do we have any?
Yes, we got a few questions when we announced it beforehand, but I'm jumping in with one of my own first, so excuse me.
Nepotism.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you take any transparent glass and apply a mirror to the back of it, and it turns into a mirror?
Not really, because I mean that is a process they have to put. I think it's silver that they put to the back. The only thing that you could do is silver leaf it, with the squares of silver, but it won't be reflective. It'll be just, you'll see the silver leaf protected.
Okay. And like if you wanted a red mirror, could you say, I want red glass instead of bronze glass?
You can order it that way.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, so
First question.
Have you ever installed a job where the large leaning mirror or any other significant element has not turned out as you have envisioned? And that question is from Mike.
Well, Mike, I'm not going to answer that and incriminate myself. Not really. The problems that I've had, which had only happened once, and I learned my lesson, was that the sofa didn't fit through the door. Or it started that it didn't fit through the elevator, it didn't turn the fire exit staircase, and it didn't fit through the door. It's a lesson that once learned, never forgotten. They have things called sofa doctors that can come in and cut up your sofa and re-put it together once you get it inside. Not really. I try to visualize the spaces very clearly. So I know what that mirror is going to be reflecting. It's not just the volume of the mirror, but what is it that mirror is reflecting? Whether it's a window or the outside, it's not just the shape, it's the whole process of what that mirror is creating in the space. Next.
Beveled edges or no?
Only if you have a more traditional space, I think the bevel edges work very well. It creates sort of like a rainbow around the perimeter, and it brings a much more traditional quality because traditional mirrors, a lot of them used to be beveled. So that's how I would use it. For myself, I like it unless I'm doing, like for instance, if you're doing a wall of mirrors and then you bevel all the edges, it gives it a totally different emotion to the space. Instead of mirror butted to mirror, I mean, it becomes an adjective to the space. And you have to think, is that what I want in there?
You've talked about putting mirrors on the floor. What about hanging mirrors, and what's the best way to ensure that it stays hanging?
First of all, when you're hanging a mirror, never hang it on one nail or one hook, because that mirror is going to be constantly moving around. So I try always to do 2 hooks. Z-clips work very well if it's a flat back mirror. If it's more traditional, then you're going to be probably hanging it with a wire, and that requires a minimum of 2 hooks so it never moves.
What shapes of mirror do you like to work with other than the 4x8 rectangle?
I love the mirrors that you see in supermarkets so people don't steal. Those sort of convex mirrors I think are great. They give you a beautiful reflection to the room. Really, it depends what it is that you're doing. I like less trickier shapes, like octagonal or things like that. I usually work, if it's a contemporary environment I'm doing, just straight lines, rectangular, square. If it's more traditionally available to use antique mirrors, then I love Georgian mirrors. I think they're so beautiful. Or Venetian mirrors, which are really amazing. It depends what mood and what the client likes.
What makes Victorian or Italian or Georgian antique mirrors different from the antique mirrors on the market now?
Well, first of all, a lot had to do with how the mirror aged. The new antique mirror, it's done, I don't know if they do it by machine, but if you want to use antique mirror, you can go into your glazier person and he will have different samples of very sort of dense pattern or just very minimal. I mean, the other ones were just, through age. The silver leaf started to separate from the glass. There's a much more authentic to the old antique mirror, than just more mechanical looking contemporary antique glass.
And a couple of more questions on antique mirrors. One from Laura, you're feeling I'm using antique glass. And then another question, more general, how do you use antique mirrors in your interiors?
As I said, I've done them as inserts in cabinetry work. I did a bedroom once that the mirror was sitting in panels on the doors of the built-ins, and those were antique. So it brought a sort of other dimension to the space. I like to use, like a whole wall of framed mirrors, which I've done, different shapes, some old, some new, some just polished steel, all as a composition on the wall. It really depends what message you want to do, what type of room it is. Is it a bedroom, a living room, a dining room? I think mirrors work great in dining rooms, especially if you like to use candlelight because of the reflection. I mean, I've done fixtures for VW Home where it's a shield of mirror with a light mounted into it and space for two candles. So you get the flicker of the candles and the reflection of the natural light. You have to just look to see what it is that you want that mirror to do for you.
Do you like to use mirror on millwork?
I just said, yes, I do like to use it. As I said, I've done it in those built-ins that I did. I've done it in dressing tables in the bathroom, whether, again, I've silver leaf the wood, and then the insert of, again, antique mirror in the ladies' bathroom, again, for the softness.
Another
One thing, though, you have to be aware that when you glue that mirror in, there has to be a sort of scoop out in the wood, so when they put the glue, the mirror doesn't stick out. Nothing worse than having the mirror and the wood not be even. So whoever's doing the work has to be clear that whatever glue they use will not push the mirror out of the frame of the cabinetry work.
You mentioned polished stainless steel.
Right.
And what are the other to broaden it a little, talk about reflective surfaces and not just mirrors.
So in metal, I've done copper mirrors, real copper, which is, I've done it in restaurants, so the reflection, you still get a reflection, but the light throws off a pink cast. I've done satin, like a polished steel, and then created a border of satin steel around it. Those are brass, I think gets too harsh. So I've done only copper and regular sort of silver stainless steel.
And you use those metal panels in the same way you use mirror?
Yep. Well, again, stainless steel panels come 4x8. So you have to figure out what you're going to do. You can't just do 4x8 because they're going to have to wrap the steel. So you have to really be very careful if you're doing that in how are you going to lay it out? How are you going to divide that slab of steel so it works? And again, how are you going to get into your space?
What is the biggest mirror you've ever done?
16 feet by 8. And it was quite a production to do it in the space. But it looked amazing because when you entered the space, you felt that there was another room right next to it. And it was very, very dramatic.
I can look around here and see that you use mirrors behind old wood screens a lot. Do you use those the
again,
same
you
way?
have to think of, do you want to use that mirror as a full reflection? Do you want it to increase visually the depth of the space? I've done Chinese windows that I put mirror behind it. And when you hang them, if you really feel that there's another room on the other side. I mean, there's mirrored lucite, which I've used outside, like in patios where I've created a trellis and then put the mirrored finish lucite behind it. So again, it feels like there's another garden behind that. And so you have to, just look at to see, instead of just being the obviously reflection, you have to see how can you bring a different dimension to your space by using mirror. Sometimes if we're hanging curtains and you can't, there's a big space above the window, the door frame, I will mirror that so it looks like the ceiling goes on, or around the top of a bathroom where you want to expand it. I've done like 12-inch bands all the way around the bathroom, so you get the sense that the ceiling was floating. Just be inventive when you're looking and thinking about mirroring.
That is our last mirror question, unless you have anything else that you feel like you haven't covered.
No, but again, next week we're going to get together again, but not here because I won't be in New York. I'm working out of town. But the next visit we're going to have together, I'm going to my upholsterer to check a piece of upholstery that they're finishing. And after that, we're going to do a session on storage and ways to store and organize all your mess. So please send me questions and just send them in. And somebody's saying something.
Yeah.
What?
That was your last mirror question. That wasn't your last question. You didn't have to start. You didn't have to.
Oh, I didn't have to end it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. We have a couple of questions left over from last week.
I wasn't trying to get rid of you.
Yeah. After wall-to-wall carpet, should a rug be added?
Well, you have to understand, you don't want to set a carpet on top of wall-to-wall. If you want to do that, you're going to have to cut the wall-to-wall and set it in. Because if not, you're going to take a spill for sure. Because each time you're walking on it, you're going to be kicking it up because carpet has a thickness to it. But I've done that. I've cut the wall-to-wall and then set the carpet in so it looks like it's inserted into the wall-to-wall carpet.
I didn't quite follow that, so maybe the people.
So you
online
have a
didn't either.
wall-to-wall carpet in a bedroom, a living room. So you want to lay down a carpet. So now the carpet has been laid down wall-to-wall. Your rug, let's say, is 10 by 12. So you have to cut the carpet that you did wall-to-wall to fit the 10 by 12. You remove what you cut, and then where you removed it, the 10 by 12, you insert the carpet into that space so you have a border of wall-to-wall carpet around it. If not, as I said, you're going to trip and fall.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I understood it. What are the perfect proportions for a long sofa?
It depends on the size of the room. Depth, I like 3 to 3.3, depending on the height of the client. Do you like to lounge or do you like to sit up? How much room I've done sofas that are 16 feet long between wall to wall. So when you look into the room, the whole length of the room is one sofa. It really, there's no perfect proportion. If you have a small room, you do a love seat. It could be 6 feet by 30, 36. It really depends how much room you have.
What about headboards? What
about headboards?
What are the proportions for a headboard?
Well, you have to figure. Well, now mattresses are like beyond. I don't understand those thick mattresses, but you have to figure that if you're using euros, they're 26 inches square. So you have to figure the height of your mattress, the box spring, whether you're upholstering it or sitting it within a frame, and are there any legs in the bottom. All those additions, and then plus the 26 for euros, and then I like to show another 6 inches worth of headboard. Because if you put euros and it's a low headboard, you don't see the headboard. So what was the purpose of doing the headboard? That is usually how I work on beds. I don't like to set the mattress in to the frame. I usually build my box spring smaller, so when they build the frame, the edge of the frame is equal to the side of the mattress, because if not, you're sitting in that bed and you're hitting the rail in the bottom, with the bottom of your leg. So I like the side of the mattress and the side of the rails of the bed to be at the same level. And headboards, whether they're rounded or square, tufted, it really depends. But I always like to see some headboard above the pillows.
I've actually got bruises on my knees from a frame that sticks out beyond the mattress. I'm
trust
very
me, don't believe
sympathetic.
me. Listen to what she has to say.
Yeah, but I'm not putting them on the camera.
Yeah.
Do you always integrate the bedside tables into the headboard?
No, actually, very rarely. I like mixed night tables. I think I always want to stay away from a suite of furniture, so the headboard and the night tables, everything matches. So I try to balance them differently. Sometimes I do a desk on one side and a night table on the other. And I think you always need a drawer, a shelf, because everybody has so much stuff, Kleenex boxes, whatever book they're reading, a lamp. So try to always take into account, instead of just a slab with no drawers, then all this stuff is going to be on the floor.
What about lighting in a headboard?
I like to integrate, like on airplanes, you have those little lights that throw a very strict beam. I set those into my headboard. So, plus lighting, normal decorative lighting, a lamp, a pendant at either side of the bed. But so like this, when you're laying in bed and you're reading, it's not, disturbing your partner in bed. So having them mounted on the headboard, you just lift it up and you can aim it at your book, and really it works so well. Every client loves them because it just it doesn't light up the whole room, just aims it at the book you're reading.
Are those LED lights, or is there a
Yes, they
special
are.
kind? Okay.
So you have to set into the headboard, some plug in. So we set it into the headboard and it plugs into an outlet, but you won't see all that because it'll be behind the headboard. Or then if you're hot wiring it, they have to bring BX cables and connect it, so you can use the light.
Do you learn things about different kinds of wiring and how to integrate 2 or 3 different things together from every new project?
From none project, I don't know. I leave it up to the electrician. I just know that, certain things. If you don't want to set in a box into the wall, you do a plug-in light, that sort of thing. But we have people that's all they do when we're working on jobs, is review all of that and come up with all the solutions for it.
Okay. I think this will be our
One thing I would say, it's always good to have next to your bed a switch that you can turn off all the lights, so you don't have to get up and go to the light and then hit your chin on the way back to your bed.
Or use your phone as a flashlight.
Or the clapper, which always works very well.
Which is what I use my phone as a flashlight. I think this is our last question for today, and then you can
Then I can give that speech
you
again.
can give a
Okay.
little commercial for last time. What projects are you currently working on?
Working on a really beautiful house in Arizona from the ground up that we're designing, a townhouse in New York, and just redoing a kitchen, redoing bathrooms, but the house in Arizona is really great because the surroundings are amazing. And to have the pleasure of working on a house from the ground up and really incorporating all the things that you learn as you progress in design really makes it a lot of fun. And then doing the decorative really is the icing on the cake. So, won't repeat the story again, but we're going to be going to the upholsterer, and then we're going to be talking about storage and how to deal with your mess with Miss Catania, who happens to be Laura Catania, an incredible organizer. Somebody who used to work for me, but she just couldn't stand my mess, so she went and started doing it on her own. Thank you very much, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.